Hi everyone, happy Monday. I am so excited to be here with you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just going to give it a few minutes for people to jump on. In the interim, I'm going to chat with you all. So if you are joining, remember to share this video. I do a draw every week, and those that share will be entered to win the cards that we're going to make tonight. So make sure that you share, comment, like, interact with me while we're crafting. I love to feel like we are in the same room crafting together during these times of COVID, as we are still in lockdown here in Ontario, and I miss stamping with people in person, so this is the next best thing. So welcome if you are joining. I'm Stephanie. I am the creator and owner of Inspire Me here in Hamilton, Ontario. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I've been with the company for 10 years now, and I have loved every minute of it. So welcome if you're joining. I'm so happy to have you here. Tonight we're going to make two cards featuring the Harvest Hellos stamp set. Let's get that in the screen there. So it's this one here. It is on the retiring list, and today is the last day to order from the annual catalog. This catalog here. Today's the last day for it because tomorrow our new catalog starts. So many amazing things happening this week. You're not going to want to miss it. My newsletter will be going out later tonight. Be sure to subscribe if you don't already, www.inkspireme.com. And when the pop-up box comes up, you just enter your email and that's how you subscribe. It's super easy. So let's go ahead and get crafty together. All right. Welcome to the Creative Station. How is your Monday so far? Is everybody having a great day? Hi, Pat. Thanks for sharing. It's been kind of gray and gloomy here in Ontario, or at least in Hamilton, and so there's no better way to spend a gloomy day than in your stamp room. And so I decided to play with the Harvest Hellos stamp set, as I mentioned off the top, and it is one of the retiring sets. So this is the stamp set here. So fun, cute little apple or pumpkin. You've got some apple slices, some seeds, whether they be apple or pumpkin, you decide. We've got a jack-o'-lantern face if you want to turn that pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern, and then of course some leaves and stems and things. So let's play with this tonight. So this is the first card we're going to make, and I thought, what a great way to thank the teachers that we may know than to come up with a card for them. It's been a couple of years now of craziness for kids and teachers alike, remote learning and back and forth in class and, back to online. It can't be easy for anyone. So teachers have a special place in my heart right now, and I thought this would be a great card to make for them. So let me show you how I did that. So I'm starting with a real red base, and it is an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. I'm going to fold that in half, so it will become an A2 card size, which is also known as a quarter fold, and it measures 5.5 by 4.25. And then I'm just going to burnish the edge with my bone folder to give it a nice crisp fold. So the first thing I want to do is I want to pull in the little leaf stamp from that stamp set and my real red ink. So I want it to be tone on tone, and I am going to randomly stamp that leaf around the perimeter of the base, rotating it, stamping off the edge a little bit, just to create a little bit of a faux background. Such an easy thing to do, and it just adds a little bit extra to your projects. And you can fill it in as much or as little as you'd like. I'm going to close up my ink because I'm inevitably going to stick my hand in there. So that's our base, quick and easy. So I'm going to put that to the side and I'm going to pull in some other colors here. So I have some Very Vanilla, which this piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and that's going to go on our inside of the card. So I'm just going to put that to the side. I have a little tag here, which is 3/4 inches by 2 1/2. And then I have a longer piece, which is 3/4 inches by 4 5/8 inches, I believe that is. I will double check that measurement. And then some crumb cake. And the reason I have the crumb cake is we're going to use that as a mat for our little background that we're going to create. So I'm using another retiring stamp set. This is the Buffalo Check stamp set. And I'm really sad that this one is going. So it's just a background stamp. It creates this beautiful buffalo check pattern, and you can either stamp in color or you can stamp on colored cardstock in black just to create the backgrounds that you want. So I'm going to create the picnic blanket look here on my scrap. So I've got it mounted to the Stamparatus. Hi, Francis. And I'm not going to use my magnets to hold it down because I'm going to be cutting it out. So if it slides around a little bit, I'm okay. And I'm using my Real Red ink again. So I'm just going to ink up that background. You want to make sure it's well covered. And then you just fold your Stamparatus plate down. And I like to use a fist, give it a good rub all over. You want to make sure that you get a good transfer of that ink. And then when you lift that up, now my cardstock came with it, but that's okay because I'm going to give it another rub right up against the stamp. And this is where the magnets would come in, is if you didn't want that to happen, the magnets would hold it down to your cutting plate, or sorry, the stamping plate. So I'm just going to lift that off. So there is our background. And again, it's okay if it's not perfect because we're going to be cutting that out anyways. And I'm going to quickly wipe off the stamp because I'm going to use it on our next project as well. And it's a lighter color ink, so I don't want that red to transfer over. And this is our simple chamois. It is a stamp cleaner, and it is probably one of my favorite things. You just add water to it, so you don't need any special cleaners or anything. And it's kind of like foamy. You just wipe your stamp on it, and it's good to go. Okay. Mine's not super wet right now, which is probably why the color's not coming off as well as it should, but we'll just repeat the process and life will be good. Lovely. All right. So put that back in my case and put this aside for the moment. All right. So to cut this out, I actually used our rectangle stitched dies, or stitched rectangle dies. I'm going to close up my ink again. And I'm going to cut that out using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So you can see that I'm not going to need some of those pieces. Now, unfortunately, this die does not, or the piece of cardstock I cut doesn't fit in the mini machine. So bear with me just one moment while I cut out using the full-size Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. If you haven't seen this in action, if you're new, welcome. So this machine is so easy to use. This little metal frame is going to cut out a perfect rectangle for me with minimal of effort. So I've created a sandwich with these clear cutting plates, and then there's just a handle. I crank it through. I'm going to give it some tension so it doesn't slide all over. And I'm going to put that out of the way. So when I pull these up, you can see I have a perfect rectangle with our background that we created. So I'm going to attach this now to that piece of crumb cake. So when this cuts out, it ends up being 3 inches by 4, and I need to look at my cutter to actually get the measurement. Hang on. It ends up being 4 5/8. Nope, it ends up being, sorry, 4 1/2. So, no, 4 3/8. I will get this. So the crumb cake is 4 5/8 to give it that 1/4 inch border. My brain is not working tonight. We'll blame it on the Mondays. So I am using my Stampin' Seal to attach that to the crumb cake, like so. And then I'm going to set that to the side. We'll come back to that in a moment. So now I'm pulling out this piece of Very Vanilla, which, as I mentioned, is 3/4 inches by 4 5/8. And I'm going to pull in this image here. So these are the little seeds, whether they're pumpkin or apple, you decide. And I'm going to pull in Early Espresso ink. We're just going to ink that up. And then I'm just going to stamp a line of these seeds across that piece. Close up my ink again. And then I'm pulling in a Stampin' Right marker. And this is actually soft suede because I could not find my Early Espresso marker. And we're just going to fill in those seeds. It's okay that I have a little bit of contrast in the color because apple seeds usually have some shade differences as well. So just fill those in. Nice and easy. What I love about Stampin' Right markers is they are dual tipped. So I'm using the brush tip, but they also have a fine tip or a marker tip. So you could do journaling if you're a scrapbooker, or sign your cards with them, or for really fine detail, you can use the marker tip as well. Almost done. If you're just joining us, thank you so much. Don't forget to share. I do a draw every week, and everyone that shares the video is entered to win the cards that we're going to make tonight. We are currently using the Harvest Hellos stamp set with the Buffalo Check stamp set, and they are on the last chance list, today being the last day to order those items. So now that we've got our apple seeds complete, we're going to use our seal once again. And I'm going to attach that to our stitched rectangle, leaving about 1/4 inch from the bottom. So we're creating our scene, so to speak. So now what I want is to pull in a scrap piece of Very Vanilla, which I have here, and I'm going to pull in a couple of different stamps. So I'm going to pull in the apple slices. Oh, Pat, you're very welcome. I'm glad it arrived. The apple stem and the apple leaf. And there is a punch to cut all of these items out. Sorry, not all. Don't have anything for the slice. So we have the apple, the leaf, and the stem. Now you can try and line it up to be able to punch them all at once. I'm not so keen on that, so I'm going to stamp them individually and line up the punch as I can. So I'm going to ink my apple in Memento, and I'm going to stamp that towards the bottom of my cardstock. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my stem and my leaf, which I did not clean, so let me do that. So we're going to stamp that as well. And now we get to do some coloring. If you know me, you know that I like to color. I find it very therapeutic. But we're going to use Stampin' Blends this time. So I'm pulling in a few few different colors. So I have Real Red because it coordinates with our cardstock. Hi, Nancy. And I have Granny Apple Green for our leaf. And then I have our bronze for our stem. So I'm going to color the stem first. So I can put that aside. And then let's do the leaf. So when I'm using blends, I've said this before, I like to go dark to light. So these are my dark, and these just create shadows where the light wouldn't hit to give your coloring some dimension. And I'm going in now with the light over top and just blending those colors out. Quick and easy, coming together nicely. So now we've got our apple, and actually I realized I didn't stamp my slice, so let's go ahead and stamp that. There's my slice. All right, so with the apple, I'm going to add some dark at the bottom of the slice here. And then Stampin' Up's already done a good job of giving us some shadow lines on the apple, and I'm just going to accent those a little bit with the dark Real Red. And then I'm going to fill the whole thing in with the light Real Red. And I like to use a circular motion. You can see the blends make coloring a whole lot faster. You can cover a whole lot more space with them. And these are alcohol markers, so they dry very quickly and they allow you to be able to blend that shading to create the look you want without tearing your paper. So fun. And you don't get lines with them. So when you're coloring with traditional markers, you can see your brush strokes. With blends, everything just blends away, hence the name. So you can go in and blend out as much or as little as you'd like. I don't like the harsh lines, so I'm just going to blend out a little more there. And then we're going to do the same on our slice here. Just blending the edge. Lovely. And I forgot to color my seed on my slice, so pull in my Stampin' Right marker once again. There we go. All right, so now let's use our punch. So when I'm punching, I like to punch upside down because then you can line up your image inside the cutting area, give it a squeeze, and there you have it. So now for my stem and my leaf, because I don't want to risk cutting them, I'm going to turn and do my leaf first. So there's the leaf. And now I can get my stem in there, lined up, give it a squeeze. There's the stem. And unfortunately, there's no punch for the slice, so we're just going to have to use our paper snips and fussy cut that. But it's a nice, easy piece, so we're just going to go like so. Quick and easy. Excellent. All right. So we're ready to assemble. So let's pull our base back in. So you'll remember we stamped the leaf randomly to create a patterned background, and it's okay that there's nothing in the center because we're going to be layering our little picnic blanket over top, and I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to attach that. So again, if you are new and you aren't sure what a Stampin' Dimensional is, this is exactly what a Stampin' Dimensional is. So you can see it's a little bit of foam. It's a double-sided adhesive. And you just peel off the back when you're ready. Oops. And I'm going to put that on a slight angle like so. Pat, that's a great question. So I use our 6x8 cello bags. I actually happen to have them here. So we sell them in packages. They come in 50s. They're just clear cellophane bags. And so what I do is I put all my little scraps in a bag, and then when I'm storing them, if you can see my side profile, you can see my paper storage. I just tuck the bag in with each of the colors, so then I have my little scraps. And I find that I use more scraps this way than when I was putting them all together in one bag. So each color has its own cello bag, and then it's put in with the full size sheets. And so I can pull them out at any time to get the size I need. All right. So we have our apple. So again, we're going to use our dimensionals to attach this. Pat says, oh, cool. I think so. Back when I first started, I had a Ziploc bag, one of the large size, and I used to put every single paper scrap in there. And I would never pull it out, or if I did pull it out, I wouldn't know which color was which because sometimes shades are really close together. So it just got too confusing, and then I just inevitably didn't use it and was wasting a lot of paper. Pat, great question. So my husband actually made my shelving unit. It's a custom design to fit the space. So we renovated our basement or our office. It's a shared office space. And the section here where the paper storage is a cutout, and the bathroom is on the other side of that. So we wanted to fill the space. So he, with my input, designed it and built it. And unfortunately, it is never coming out of there. So if we ever move, well, he'll have to either recreate it, or I think he'll make me do the IKEA storage. But I'm happy with it, and it works really well. Does he take orders? I think you'd have to get in line. There's been a few people that have asked for his help, and he had some trouble with this one, so I'm not sure how keen he'd be to do that. So there's our apple. So I've used dimensionals on the apple body. I tucked the stem and the leaf using my seal directly to the base so it's not popped up. And then the apple slice, there's a dimensional on the right side and then adhesive on the left so that it sticks to the apple. And then it's popped up here. But we're not done. We need a sentiment. So this is my Very Vanilla, and it is 3/4 of an inch by 2.5 inches. And I'm going to pull out the To an A+ Teacher. And I'm going to pull out the Early Espresso ink once again. We're going to stamp that roughly in the center. And then I'm going to pull in our linen thread. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn my piece over and just put a dab of my seal on the left side and tuck an end of the linen thread to that. So now I'm going to wrap the linen thread around 3, maybe 4 times. Let's go 4. And when I cut that, I'm going to tuck the end to the adhesive. So it's secured there, it's not going anywhere. And then on the opposite end, I'm going to create a banner flag. I just like the banner flag, and I think it's fun, and it's not quite as boring as just a straight rectangle. So there we have our little flag. And we're going to use dimensionals once again to stick this to the base. And I like to use every inch of my dimensional, so I'm just going to cut a chunk of the edge here. And this is going to go on the card. And it's going to be parallel to the top of the card, even though the rest of it is kind of askew. But I want to do a bow as well. So I'm just going to tie a little bow out of that linen thread. Play with your ears and your tails until you get the right size and shape that you're looking for. And now I'm going to use our mini glue dots to attach that. So these are just what they sound like, little dots of glue, but they are not messy at all, which I love. And there we have our cute little teacher card. So for all the educators out there in your life that might be teaching your children or your grandchildren right now, I'm sure they could use a little pick-me-up. This would be a great card to do that. But because the real red is pretty dark, I mentioned at the start I have a piece of Very Vanilla to put inside. So again, this is 4 inches by 5 1/4. But before I put that in the card, I want to stamp this little apple slice once again, just here in the bottom right corner. And now we can stick that inside the card. Just gives it a lighter center for you to be able to write your greeting or have your child sign their name, and just make it a little bit more readable by the recipient. So there we have it. So that's our first card using the Harvest Hello set. What do you all think? I'm actually really happy with this and how it turned out. All right, so our next card, I'm going to continue along with the same stamp set, so the Harvest Hellos, and I'm going to use pieces that I actually haven't even used before. So I'm going to clean my stamps first. I want to get my teacher and my leaf. Oops. Sticking my finger in the ink. Apple. All right. I think we still need the stem, so we'll leave the stem out. So I'm going to use the pumpkin this time. So you can see I haven't used this yet, so I'm going to pull that out, and this one, and the little curly, and I want the Hey There Pumpkin greeting. All right, so let's put some of these back in. Lovely. All right. So as I said, I haven't used some of these before, so you get to see me assemble cling stamps. So when you get your stamps, they come just like you saw there on a piece of rubber. It's pre-cut, but you have to punch them out. And there's a backing on those, so I'm just going to peel the backing off. And then the foam isn't sticky at all. So what makes it sticky are the stickers. So they are perforated. You can pull them off. And the easiest way I found to attach these and get them somewhat lined up is to actually use the border around the image to line it up with the shape of the stamp. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom and line that up. And cling is super sticky, so once it's on there, it's pretty much on there. There's no repositioning. So there you have it. So I'm going to do the same thing with my leaf. Peel that back off. Peel the perforated protective backing. I'm going to use the stamp space as a guide. So there's that one. We got our little curly Q. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but that's how I'm going to call it. Curly Q. It's like a little vine or a tendril. Alright. So again, just following the outline there. Take that off. And last but not least, we have our Hey There Pumpkin And we want to make sure that we get that pretty straight so that when you're stamping your greeting. Nancy says that was amazing how I put the stamps on. Trial and error, trial and error. It didn't go that smoothly the first time I did it, let me tell you. All right, so I don't have a sample of this next card. We're just gonna create on the fly. And I'm gonna pull in, some basic white for our background. And as usual, it's a 5.5 by 8.5. I'm going to fold in half to be 5.5 by 4.25, which is a standard A2 card size. Lost my bone folder, there it is. Burnish the edge. It's going to also be a landscape card, so I'm going to put that to the side. I have a piece of basic white measuring 4 by 5.25, and we're going to use this first. So I'm going to put those other pieces aside, and I'm going to pull my Stamparatus back in because we're going to use that buffalo check stamp once again. Oops, there it is. All right. So I'm going to position that in there and hope that it's mostly straight. And I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz ink on this one. So this is a lighter green. And just like previously, I'm going to ink up the background stamp. And if you're just joining, the Buffalo Check stamp set and the Harvest Hellos that we are using tonight are only available until the end of the day today. Today is the last day for these items that I'm sad to see go. But the new catalog starts tomorrow, which is super exciting. And again, I'm just going to give it a good rub. Apply lots of pressure. We want that ink to transfer nicely. And when I lift, again, I'm going to give it a rub right against the stamp. I want to make sure that the background is totally covered. No, sticking my finger in the ink, that's okay. And there we have it. Not totally covered, but I can live with that. All right. So now this is going to get attached to our base, and it's going to go right against it, so there's no dimensionals being used here. And my ink is still a little bit wet. For the most part, it dries pretty fast, so I'm going to turn this over and just rub the back to make sure the adhesive is holding. Just don't want to smear the ink. So we've created a background. Now I have a piece of soft suede, and this is 4.25 by 3 inches. And we're going to put that on top of our card. But first we're going to do some stamping. So I'm going to pull in some soft suede ink, which I didn't have out, so let me grab that. It's at the bottom of my pile, of course. And I am going to randomly stamp this little pumpkin to create a background here. So there. And it's okay if they're overlapping because we're going to actually put a pumpkin in front. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to add some stems to those. And maybe some of these little tendrils, which are super cute. Adorable. All right. I'm going to close up my ink. And I'm going to put that to the side to dry. And now on a scrap piece of basic white, we're going to stamp that pumpkin again. This time I'm going to stamp it in pumpkin pie ink, which, again, at the bottom of my pile, pumpkin pie. Oh, this is a really old ink pad. Apparently I have not upgraded this one yet. Clean that. All right. So that same apple punch we've already used is going to cut out this pumpkin as well. So we're going to stamp that like so. And then I want to stamp the stem, which actually still has ink on it. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, look at that. So all I did, so I literally just breathed on it. And because it's a water-based ink, it still allowed the ink to transfer to the paper. So we're going to pull that punch back in. We're going to cut out our pumpkin. Hi, Corrine. And then we're going to punch our stem, which of course I stamped upside down. So now I need to trim my paper. So all I did there, because I stamped my stem upside down to how it's going to punch, is I trimmed my paper, and now I'm going to line it up like so. Give it a punch. All my bits are going everywhere. There we go. All right. What I should have done before I punched here was actually colored these things the way I wanted them. So let's do that. So I've got my watercolor pencils here, and I have the pumpkin pie, and I'm going to just do some shading in the pumpkin pie with the watercolor pencil. Now you could use Stampin' blends here. You could also use blender pens if you had them. You can decide your coloring utensil of choice. Crane says, look at you being a rock star with that stem, LOL. I don't know about rock star, but it's not the first stem I've messed up on, let's just say that. Alright, so we're just coloring, adding some shading. And what I love about the watercolor pencils is the heavier you push, the darker the color that you end up with. So if you want a heavier line, you push a little bit harder. And if you want that lighter shading, then a lighter touch. So let's just go over some of those lines. So I want some darker shading at the bottom. And then I want that heavier line along the side. So I don't want to color the whole thing in the dark, but I am just going to fill it in ever so lightly. So it's not totally white in the center, and just maybe add some extra pressure at the bottom here. So there's our pumpkin. And I'm not worried about the lines as I'm coloring with the pencil, because pumpkins have that uneven texture. So I also want to fill in our stem, and there isn't a soft suede, but there is an early espresso, so I'm going to use that to color in that little stem. So there's our stem, and then I do want to pull in some extra little leaves. So I've got some extra white here, and I'm going to use this guy I'm going to stamp that in the soft suede again. And I think I'm going to stamp 2 of these and see how that works. All right, so let's pull in early espresso, and I'm going to pull in some old olive as well and see if we can come up with a shade that works here. So I'm going to use the early espresso along some of the lines to create some different shading. And then I'm going to come in with the old olive on top. It's not quite the pear pizzazz that we used on our background, but I think it's going to work. I forgot how lovely these watercolor pencils do actually color. I don't use them nearly enough. Now, sadly, there is not a punch to punch out these leaves, so we're going to have to cut them with our paper snips. But again, they're not too delicate. There's not a lot of detail, so it should be relatively painless to cut those out. Like so. So there's our first one. And our second leaf. And I think we're going to be ready to assemble. All right. So let's pull our base back in and all our little bits. Now I did pull out a piece of the ribbon. This is white ribbon, and it's from the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack. And it is carried over to the next catalog, so that's why I decided to use it here. I think I want to try and combine that with the linen thread somehow. So let's do some playing around. I'm going to I think I'm going to tie a bow around the ribbon. And when I'm doing finicky bows like this, I like to tie it in an overhand knot first, just so it doesn't try and come undone as I'm playing with the bow. And I can fix that after. I'm just going to cut my tail. All right. So I'm going to attach this right to the cardstock, but I want to put this on the card base. And I'm going to use dimensionals once again. So it looks like I've come to the end of my sheet of dimensionals, and as I said, I like to use every last morsel. So I'm just going to cut some pieces to make them fit. And pull off the backs. Amazing. All right. So this is going to go on straight, hopefully. There we go. And then I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal to attach this ribbon. And I want it to hang off the edge a little bit, so I'm going to go right across. So I'm going to go from this line all the way to the edge. And then we're going to attach the ribbon to it. Lovely. And then I'm going to trim the end on an angle so it doesn't fray. That did not go as I planned. Not quite the nice edge I had envisioned, but it works. So there we have our bow and our ribbon. Super cute. All right, so now we get to start building. So I'm going to layer my pumpkin just where that bow is. And again, dimensionals here, so we're going to use those little bits that I've created. Like so. And I want my stem. So again, I'm not going to try and stick this with dimensionals. I'm just going to attach it to the base. So I've got my Stampin' seal on there, like that. And then I want my leaves. I'm going to tuck one in behind. I'm going to actually cut the stem off this one, because the dimensionals are getting in the way. There we go. So in behind, still showing our stem, and that's going to get attached with the seal. So it's poking out from underneath. And then this one is going to be coming down on top of our pumpkin. Like so. And then we need our greeting. So I'm going to pull in that scrap of basic white again, and our Hey There pumpkin in our early espresso. And I'm going to stamp that along the bottom. So actually this would be a great spot for me to pull in my little baggie of scraps and find a piece that works. So I'm going to do that. I'll figure out something to do that with that later. So let's do, and that is not straight. Let's see how far. There we go. Better. Sorry if you had my head in the way there. Still not perfectly straight, but it's better than it was. And we're going to do the same thing with the banner end. So I'm actually going to trim it a little bit. I can see my ink is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to be careful here. And just a snip. And the little flag. And then we're going to tuck our little banner in beside the pumpkin there. And that's going to get attached right to the base with our seal. Like so. So there we have our second card using the Harvest Hellos, and for two very different reasons. One, to thank our teachers, and one just to wish somebody a hello. It could be a great Thanksgiving Day card or fall themed card, but that is the Harvest Hellos and Buffalo Check background stamp that are only available today. After today, they will be gone forever, and I am so incredibly sad by that. So I'm going to come back around and talk to you for a minute because I have lots of things to share with you. Okay, well, hi. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this evening's projects. I certainly had fun creating them. The last one I actually created right off the cuff, didn't have that planned at all, so I appreciate you staying with me. As I mentioned, tonight is the last night to buy from the annual catalog. This one here, because the new one starts tomorrow. So that's super exciting. If you liked the Harvest Hello stamp set that we used tonight, you want to make sure that you place an order tonight using the host code above my shoulder here. and you'll be entered into a draw for my Ink Blots Rewards program. All the details are on the website under rewards, so check those out for sure. The Apple Punch that we used is also on the retiring list, so that's this guy here, coordinates with the stamp set. So again, you can only get that up until tonight. After tonight, everything will be gone, no longer orderable. Don't forget to get on my newsletter. I will be sending it out shortly after the live tonight. There will be important information about some of the promotions coming up, including a host promotion and a join promotion, and you're not going to want to miss out all the details. Not to mention, I'm going to have some samples to share with you all from the new catalog. So exciting. I have a BOGO sale this weekend. So if you are not part of my Facebook page, or if you haven't liked or followed it, you want to go over and do that. It's right here where I am live. There will be an event this weekend where all of my retired items will be for sale. And how it works is for every dollar you spend on retired product, you get to spend that same amount on new products. So essentially you're getting the new product for free, because the retired product that you spend, that dollar amount is applied to new products. So you're getting 2 items for the price of 1. It's awesome. And I have lots and lots of retired items to share with you all. So that's great. What else do I have? Card Club. So May 7th is Friday. That is the last day to sign up for this month's Card Club, featuring the Handsomely Suited bundle. And that is, I don't think I have it in my catalog. Yes, I do. Let me show you what that is. So they are masculine themed cards, which I know many people struggle with, including myself. So page 50. So Handsomely Suited, it's this one here at the ties. So masculine cards, great for Father's Day. You definitely want to check that out. There's different options to sign up for my card club. So whether you do a monthly subscription or if you just want a one-off, you can do that. If you want to prepay for 3 or 6 months, you can do that. So check that out. It's www.inkspireme.com/card club. There's a whole page dedicated to it. My paper share is still open for registration. I have 2 spots left, and my In Color Club is also still open for registration. There are only a few spots remaining. It's a great way to get all of the new In Colors at broken down over 5 months to get them more cost effectively. Bingo is coming up June 5th. Registration is filling up. I am so excited for Bingo. We had so much fun the last time, and I know we're going to have fun this time. And I think that's everything. Oh, it seems like a lot. So again, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter. Just go to my website, www.inkspireme.com, and when the box pops up, just enter your email and you will automatically be subscribed. So thank you all so much for joining. I love you all. I appreciate your business. Thanks so much, and have a fantastic week. Bye, everyone.